You are listening to Insurance Untangled podcast, where we explore the various challenges faced by dental practices due to their reliance on insurance. In this podcast, we dive deep into the issues surrounding dental insurance dependence and offer practical solutions and strategies for reducing your reliance on insurance. Join us as we interview industry experts, share success stories, and provide valuable insights to help you take control of your practice's financial future.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast. I am Naren and one of the co-hosts of this podcast. We are dedicated to helping practices that are tangled up with insurance. We talk about topics that help you take more control and create a bigger and better future for you, your patients, and of course, your team members. Today, my guest is my fellow co-host and dear friend, Ben Tuane. Jordan Comstock is here with us, and we're going to have some fun together. And the topic we're going to be talking about is how many doctors are dropping insurance these days and why. How many doctors are dropping insurance these days and why. Hey, Ben. Hey, Jordan. How are you guys doing?
Hey,
doing
gentlemen. Nice
This is an exciting episode.
Yeah. It's one that draws an equal amount of attention from the insurance industry. So we'll be very careful today to not put a target on anybody's back. But it's a fun topic to talk about.
Yeah, Ben, you have the front row seat to this, right? I mean, you talk to practices, you help hundreds and hundreds of practices every year navigate the mess called, PPO plans. And of course, you have a pulse on what these doctors are thinking, what they're doing. So is the fee-for-service practice model making a comeback? Are doctors sick and tired of insurance?
Yes. And the answer is yes. Fee-for-service is most certainly making a comeback. And I think naturally, when you think about it, most students right out of dental school, they learn about the fee-for-service model from what they hear from their teachers, right? A lot of the teachers these days are also private business owners and have their own private practices.
Yeah.
And
Gary, doesn't he teach at a school?
Yeah, he teaches at the Midwestern, right, Naren?
Yeah.
Out there in Glendale, Arizona. Yeah, and Gary's practice is fee-for-service too. It's one to learn from. You know what I mean? It's like you can practice in the heart of Phoenix, like Gary's practices with his partner. One of the most competitive markets in terms of dentists on every single corner, multiple dentists on every corner, right?
Yeah.
And everybody else is taking insurance, and yet Gary's practice is thriving from a full fee-for-service perspective, So the answer to that question is yes, that whole the old fee-for-service model is coming back, and it's going to come back to stay, in my opinion.
So Ben, why is it that more and more doctors these days are dropping insurance? What is their motivation and all that fun stuff?
It's funny. Every doctor that I talk to for the first time, one of the questions I ask is, are you looking to drop insurances in the foreseeable future? And every single one says yes, with a caveat, right? Yes, but I'm not ready. Yes, not now. Yes, but I'm afraid to lose patients. Yes, but I don't, I'm fear, it's yes. And then a statement about fear, right? But that has changed in the last 3 years. It's yes. And I need to know where to start, right?
Yes.
So
we see a lot of that too. 98% plus of people practices that come to us are like, yes, my main thing is to start dropping insurance companies.
It's on everybody's mind. I think the reason why, the motivation, of course, is inflation, right? Wage inflation, dentistry.
Interesting.
I think dental practices have experienced a very high level of inflation, where $1 million practice today is not as profitable as $1 million practice back in 2019, right? And that's only 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, not long ago.
And so because of those number changes on overhead, you're having that massive shift towards an intolerance of in-network, to where naturally doctors can do the simple math and think, okay, well, if I go out of network, I'll solve that problem, that overhead problem, and get back to traditional profitability. That's one of the motivations. The other is the bandwagon approach, right? They're seeing other doctors leave.
The social proof,
and I'm getting I'm getting the patients that don't want to go out of network. They're coming to me. And now I'm flooded with patients that, I have to give crowns for 50% off. And doctors are like, I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to discount my dentistry when I'm booked out a whole year on my
Well,
hike.
quality of life definitely changes when you have to discount that much.
Oh, big time.
It's a race to the bottom.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you share some specific numbers on how many practices are dropping out of insurance, Ben?
Yes. So this is the part where I have to be careful because I've made some statements publicly that has drawn the attention of some insurance carriers sort of trying to bury the information that's floating out there, right?
Let's just say that there's freedom of press.
There's the First Amendment, which is
Yes.
freedom of speech. But I do recognize that
Large corporate entities don't like it.
Yeah, the silencing effort. And I'm going to say this about what's going on these days.
Yeah.
Is that there's always been a game of tug of war, right, between doctors and insurance carriers.
Always, yeah.
And the doctors are pulling harder these days, so they're sort of trying to recapture that control. And as a result of the insurance industry protesting that and trying to silence people like you, Naren, myself,
Yeah.
and have us stop reporting these numbers. So some specific numbers, California, well, number one, I'd say 98% of dentists are thinking about dropping insurance plans these days.
Sure.
Looking at the sampling
That's
of doctors,
staggering, 98%.
yeah, 98%. And
I would say that's what we're seeing too, as practices come flocking to us.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's among the sampling of doctors that I talk to, which of course is a large number of doctors on a weekly basis, monthly basis, and annual basis. 98% of them are asking about direction to go out of network. On the state-by-state basis, what we're finding is that the state that has the lowest rate of doctors dropping out of insurance is Washington State in terms of the major carriers that operate up there, right? So we'll eliminate that from the data set. In every other state, from the data that I've been able to pull, some states, it's 5% of the doctors that are actively in the process of dropping a dental plan, right?
Sure.
So at any given time, it's around, it seems to hover between 5 and 10% of the doctors. And that's not 5% of them are dropping every single dental plan. It's 5 to 10% that are in the process.
Doing it in phases.
Correct.
Yeah.
So among the major carriers, again, I won't throw any names out there, but among the major carriers, what you're seeing is a participation loss in many states that mirror that. It's anywhere between 5 and 10% of doctors that are the in-network listing is shrinking by 5 to 10%. My prediction is that within the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to start to see those numbers accelerate significantly because, again, bandwagon approach, simple psychology. When we see other people doing something we want to do, and we see an example of that and how safe it was for
Makes
them,
it a lot easier. Yeah.
We have them. We now say, well, I want to give it a try too, because I can see a path and how that can be done successfully.
Very cool. So Ben, how are some of the DSOs or corporate dentistry handling insurance participation? Are they staying in network or are they dropping insurance as well?
Yes. So some of the major DSOs that are out there, and we talked to a doctor out of Scottsdale, Arizona, just last month. He's one of the executives of a major DSO, also has his own private practice. That particular DSO, again, we won't throw any names out there, but that particular DSO in almost every state is dropping the top dental plan in that state.
Wow.
And so you're seeing that reaction among DSOs that are now leaving in large numbers. You're starting to see other successful DSOs that have, it's mostly the DSOs that have a management partnership with an outside company that owns half of the business and the doctors own the other half. You're seeing the doctors and those management companies get together at the DSO level, and they're leaving insurance in large numbers, right? Not just the major carriers, but a lot of the small insurance carriers as well. The younger DSOs that are sort of capturing the Medicaid market, right? And there's a lot of them that are out there. You're not seeing a lot of activity of those groups leaving insurance, but as a whole, it's the more experienced DSOs or the dental practices that are part of these DSOs that have been around for a long time that don't have any more room to put patients, in places. They have to make room for new patients. You're starting to see many of those drop out of insurance in large numbers in every single state.
Thank you, Ben. What
Yeah.
about assignment of benefits? Let's say a doctor has gone out of network. Are they accepting assignment of benefits or not?
That's an excellent question, Naren. So it depends on the insurance plan. You have some insurance plans that do not accept assignment of benefit. Now, this statement that I'm going to make here, because I am going to name some insurance carriers, just because this is known policy, right? This is not out of the ordinary. Everybody knows it. Well, if you ask anybody that's out of network, or if you contact these insurance carriers, they will let you know that this is their policy. So you have Delta and the Blue Cross Blue Shield and the United Concordia plans that typically don't accept assignment of benefit if you go out of network. Now, even that's changing. We're starting to see a lot of those major carriers change their policies in certain states, like Iowa and Wisconsin, where out of network doctors with those plans are receiving reimbursement directly. They're still receiving assignment of benefit from the insurance carriers, but in a lot of states, you have no choice but to have the checks go to the patient. Now, the trend in which I'm seeing is that even in states where dental plans do accept assignment of benefit out of network, a lot of doctors are getting away from that, where they're collecting in full from the patient at the time of treatment, submitting the claim for the patient, but advising the patient that the patient will receive reimbursement on their own directly from the insurance plan. And the reason why that seems to be on the rise is because there's not a whole lot of protests among the patients, right? If the patients have benefits and the assurance that they're going to get reimbursed is given to the patient, of course, at that point, it's less risky for the patient to invest in their whole care at the time of treatment, knowing that they're going to get reimbursed anyway, right? So I like that model. It's a difficult model where you're not accepting assignment of benefit, but it's on the rise where more and more doctors are doing it these days, simply because from a stress perspective and admin perspective, it's so much easier for the practice, right? Less distraction, where you can really focus on your craft, right? Without having to deal with the insurance admin stress.
I would imagine, Ben, and this is where my mind goes, is, man, if you had some type of patient financing and like a discount membership plan and combine the two together, like that would make it pretty easy for patients to accept, even if they don't, even if they're out of network, right? Because that's really the problem, it seems like, in the industry, is just making it easy for patients to pay for their dental care. Insurance doesn't really, it does that in a way with the discounts, right? But patients still, if they have enough restorative care, they still have to pay out of pocket.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It seems like it's just a simple solution of just organizing and making it easy for patients to pay through like financing and things like that. So that's kind of where my mind goes.
When I was at a DSO, we did 90 days same as cash. And our collection rates were 98%. They were no different than any other healthy practice that collected at the time of treatment.
Yeah, that's great.
Patients. And then the other part that you bring up, Jordan, is very, 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 very important for practices, is the in-house financing.
Yeah.
I mean, you could use care credit. You're not going to have a whole lot of people. Well, majority of patients may qualify for care credit, but a good chunk of them won't, right?
Yeah. Well, and they have other options as well.
Right.
That they've bought some companies, I've heard, that make it easier to pay for dental care.
So a good tool like that, where you can manage the financing, right? Where it's somewhat automated. You build the treatment plan, and then you have the payments taken out over a series of months, which is what human beings like, right? If you buy an $80,000 vehicle, there's no way you're going to put down $80,000, right?
Yeah.
The way it's sold to you is it's going to be $850 a month for 72 months, right?
Yep.
Which would you rather have? You pay 80,000 now, or you pay $850 for 72 months, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with that, Jordan, that if that were built successfully in dentistry, and
especially out of network,
that would greatly help dental practices in terms of case acceptance and minimizing patient attrition, because you're solving one of the fears of patients is an increased financial commitment to stick with you as an out-of-network provider, right?
Yes.
So if you can build a tool like that, Jordan, that would be wonderful.
Trust me, I'm looking into it.
Yes.
And I have another question for you. How does going out of network impact insurance administration in the dental office?
Yes. So there are two different methods of insurance administration from an out-of-network perspective. Number one you can accept assignment of benefit that we spoke about, right? Which is essentially mirroring the same insurance administration as if you were in network, right? Where you're verifying eligibility, doing insurance verification, getting a breakdown from insurance on what benefits are available and at what percentage of coverage for certain types of treatment categories, right? So most practices do that, where when they give patients a treatment plan, they're only collecting the quote unquote estimated out of pocket from the patient, right? So it's not the total billable amount, it's just the estimated amount, which is what you do when you're in network. And for the same reasons of just the financial concerns that patients have to pay in full, right? So that's method number one, which is the most popular method. Method two is not accepting assignment of benefit, simplifying the process, right? Well, let me back up with method one. Method one, sometimes you will not know what the out-of-network benefits for a dental plan, right? So you have to guess, make your best educated guess. And it doesn't eliminate the traditional insurance administration that you've been dealing with as an in-network provider. In fact, a lot of the administration stays the same, except for you don't know the coverage for certain types of patients, and certain types of dental plans, right? So you're just making a guess and then obviously correcting things once you get the EOB, right? Chasing patients down for additional balances and all that. The other method that a lot of practices are finding attractive is getting rid of insurance administration, not accepting assignment of benefit, doing treatment and giving the only expectation you're giving the patient is that their insurance will reimburse them directly, right? So all the insurance verification, eligibility checks, all the traditional functions of operating insurance go away, which arguably, when you look at that from a payroll perspective, that's a significant savings that you get back, right? Because your team members that were working on that can be routed to other areas of the practice simply because you're not submitting claims. You're not appealing denied claims. You're not playing that messy game with insurance on insurance administration. So that's why I said before that a lot of practices desire to get to that non-assignment of benefit because they want to get rid of every single aspect of insurance administration in the practice. That's something that's slowly on the rise, but majority of practices are still carrying the burden of figuring out patient benefits, accepting assignment of benefit, and all the risks that come with that, which is okay. But I would encourage doctors to look more towards the ability to not accept assignment of benefit and get there and eventually eliminate every insurance function you have in your practice.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, Ben. So what would you recommend if a doctor is interested in going out in network but doesn't really know where to start right out of the gate?
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's a conversation I have with everybody that contacts us.
Sure. Yeah.
And, naturally, when I talk to doctors about negotiations, the preferred method for most practices is to do it slowly, right? That influences the greatest amount of patient retention. But in situations where I see that the out-of-network path is very clear, there are some components that I'm not qualified to prepare a doctor for in terms of the out-of-network transition. So my number one go-to person is Gary Takis.
Nice.
Where I do send doctors to do a consult with Gary. And so if you're interested in that, just send us an email. You can send me an email, ben@veritasdentalresources.com. I'll ask a few questions just to see what direction would be best. I'll hook you up with Gary too, in the event where I do see that a call with Gary might be very important to kind of help build that path for you to start dropping out of insurance.
Ben, thank you so much. This is an interesting episode. I'm excited to share this one to our audience and all the emails we have of practices that are looking to drop PPOs to give them a little bit more confidence and strategy on how to go about this. So thank you so much for our listeners for hanging out with us today. Give us some great reviews. Check out our website. What's the website again, Naren? I always blank out here.
InsuranceUntangled.com.
Go check that out. We have plenty of resources for your practice there. And until the next episode, we hope you have a rocking day.